Jamal. Well, of course, you're on my channel. It's my video. Couldn't sleep, and I was kind of just looking online, looking at some videos, and I came across Saint Progressive. The woman from PIP was back. And look, so if anybody remembers my last video, I kind of joked her because she was kind of real heavy on the social justice thing in regards to Justice Democrats, saying like they were taking their money and shame on them and all this other stuff. So apparently they've had a summit. The organization PIP. I gotta be honest, I like what I'm hearing. Apparently with this particular summit, she was able to pull a huge amount of groups together, and it sounds a hell of a lot like what I've been saying. Have a summit, pull these people together, try to create webs throughout the country. Well, it sounds like she's had a little bit of success, and apparently they're planning an additional summit. So let's hear.
Fingers crossed. Joining me tonight is Erica Bloss, who is founder of PIP, and she is one of the leaders of organizing the Occupy inauguration event that just came down, what was it, last week or the weekend before? Boy, it was like 2 weeks ago? It's only been a week. It seems like a year. It seems like a year. So, it does. She organized that leadership meeting. So I wanted to hand the floor over to you, just to introduce yourself and just give a brief history of the group you've been founding. I know names have changed, but just like a brief bio for people who aren't familiar with your work.
Absolutely. We founded PIP back in March. We are Bernie-crats, really, who were concerned that if Bernie didn't get the nomination, which he did not, that our beautiful community that was growing would just kind of be lost to the wind. And we didn't know if it would be necessary, but we are calling for a coalition-based third party where all the smaller independent parties on the left come together to gain ballot access and get electoral power back to the people. And as we move forward, we've survived the ups and downs and the new organizations that have come and left, and we remain strong because I think we have a valued concept of unity. And as we moved forward, we were integral in the planning. I was a co-founder of Occupy Inauguration, and I'm really proud of that. It did take away some of our focus from the Progressive Independent Party, but at the same time, it began to build those coalitions and those relationships that we're going to need moving forward. So we did a lot of work. My co-founder, Evan Duke, who's a grassroots organizer, and myself, built this beautiful coalition with the National Steering Committee was David Cobb of the Stein Baraka campaign, Calvin Priest of Socialist Alternative. We had Keon Bliss and George Friday of Move to Amend, Daniel Curcio and James Waltz of the Equality Coalition. And it was an amazing but difficult, challenging coalition building exercise. And we learned the ups and downs of coalition building. And we learned that we can't all be aligned politically, but that should not stop what we can agree on in building the movement. So PIP wasn't always in line with Socialist Alternative, and we weren't always in line with what the Stein Baraka campaign believed about the Trump election. But we learned we had to continue. So at in our mission statement of Occupy Inauguration, it stated we are going to build a coalition independent party for the 99%. So at the end of OI on Sunday, we had a summit, Progressive Leaders, that was invite only, and it was an amazing event. Ralph Nader, Jill Stein, we had reps from the Justice Party, Jonathan Martin, who's an author of Third Party Politics, Nick Brana from the Bernie campaign. I mean, we had amazing people, Dr. Margaret Flowers and Kevin Z's Popular Resistance, Lee Camp was there. We had leaders from Standing Rock, Black Lives Matter, etc. So we brought them all together to have this conversation. Where do we go next? PIP has an idea. we are presenting to the movement, but, we belong to the movement. We aren't the movement. We're not trying to step on toes. We're trying to join hands. And so we gave 3 panels an opportunity to talk about what they were doing. We used the 3 pillars of PIP, which is what we believe needs to happen to knock down the oligarchy, which is support independent media, building a movement and activism, and third is electoral power. So we had those 3.
You need to add one more to that. Destroy capitalism. Look, I get it. I totally get it. I'm a radical leftist. That's fine. But you're falling into a trap that Democrats fell into. How are you going to address income inequality? How are you going to address homelessness? How are you going to address poverty? The capitalistic model does not provide you a way to address those things. And if you're calling yourself a progressive party, so what? You're just going to raise taxes again? I mean, how are you going to address the actual issue? All of these guys are skating the issue. Deal with the issue. The issue is capitalism. Deal with the issue. What are you going to do when you get to the point where, for instance, and look, I know I'm going on a slight tangent here because I know these groups keep coming up and none of these guys offer actual solutions. Like, what I mean is, yes, around the edges, each group is not bad. So yes, Justice Democrats may be able to get their people in office. Yes, I love this particular idea of bringing communities together to come up with solutions. I mean, hell, I've been calling for it for God knows how long. I didn't know she was doing it. But nobody's asking the fundamental question. Why, in all of these years, have we not been able to make progress on poverty, income inequality? Why does the disparity between the rich and the poor continue to get wider? Why does infrastructure, why does technology, why does all these things lag behind in a sense? And they do lag behind. You have other technologies that have a vested interest in preventing certain technologies because it'll disrupt their particular business model. Capitalism tries to protect itself from other competing industries. So solar power or something like that may get stifled in one particular state, depending upon the people who are in that state, who have the power to buy off politicians to make that difficult to do. The problem is capitalism. Even if you come up with a progressive party, I get it. You're acting like all of these people are also not susceptible to be bribed. Your problem is capitalism. So tell me something. Under your model, you put in a progressive party. Let's say your party does gangbusters. 10 years pass. We have driverless cars. All those drivers who was doing taxis, all those drivers who was deliveries and everything else, those people are out of jobs. How is your progressive party going to fix that? Are they going to force people to drive cars when you already have the technology for automation? How is your progressive party going to deal with stores when they don't necessarily need to have cashiers or clerks, when the person can just walk out? Hey, look, they have the technology now. You can walk into, it's like an Amazon. Walk in, walk out. They don't need a cashier. None of the things that you guys are proposing are addressing the actual issue. The issue is capitalism. You have a system based on consumption. Literally, based on consumption. We have a finite planet. And the goal of this particular model is to use as much resources as possible, because using as much resources as possible allows somebody to accrue huge amounts of wealth. That's maddening. You're trying to accrue something that's not real, using something that is real and tangible to do it. Not to mention completely oblivious to the actual cost of the things that you're doing. So you would say, yes, globalization is awesome. We're going to take potatoes from Mexico and essentially boat them over to California. Even though California can grow their own tomatoes. Because you don't take the environmental costs of having to ship to make that trip across the ocean into the cost of doing business. Your problem is capitalism. I applaud you for and I'm sorry, this wasn't the original intention of this video. The original intention of the video was kind of saying, hey, I like this idea. I like the blending of these people together. But they're pissing around the edges. Deal with the issue. If you're going to be a leftist party, be a leftist party. Stop, playing around. Address the issue. Attack the actual problem. You may or may not lose. At the end of the day, you will get across to people, though, that, look, there are structural issues with capitalism. It's a Ponzi scheme. And it's a Ponzi scheme that's fallen apart. Why do you think there's a disparity between the rich and the poor like this? Why do you think 95% of the gains went to the top 1%? The further this process goes on, the wider the disparity between the rich and the poor. And as those guys squeeze the poor for more and more money, they're going to have less and less money to buy the supplies and the goods and the things that these guys are making. These guys are killing themselves off. They don't even get it. They're too damn greedy. My point is, if you're going to be a leftist party, your job is to be the integrity. We are the conscience of this nation. And if you're not going to put policies that actually address the things that we care about, environment, poverty, income inequality, allowing people to have a decent living, allowing people to have health care. Look, you can accomplish all of those things, but if you're going to have to come up with a justification of cash because your entire model is based on how much profit you can make, no, you're never going to be able to get that stuff done. Attack the problem. Deal with the actual issue. The problem is capitalism. Look, I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. Look, I like this idea. I honestly like this idea. If this channel, my goal is to be as honest as possible. If I get something wrong, I'll say I got something wrong. If I think I'm biased on a particular topic, I would even probably say I'm biased on a particular topic. What I'm saying this as, the first time I brought this woman on, I joked her because, let's be honest, she was being ridiculous. I think I understand where she's coming from now, but she was still being ridiculous. She was trying to say that Justice Democrats was taking the resources. Justice Democrats was not taking resources that belonged to her. She just wanted those resources because she doesn't necessarily want them to go to Justice Democrats. That's like a Republican saying the Democrats were taking our resources because, they were co-opting our donors. No, you don't. They don't owe you in that sense. You decided you want to create a third party. They decided they wanted to go through the Democratic Party. Those are two separate and distinct things. So, yes, policy-wise, you guys might be close together, but your goals are in conflict. Now, that said, I like this idea. I love it. I've been calling for a summit. I just have this feeling that, look, anything that happens in nature, doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Okay, yes, there's some things that happen in space. What I mean is action. I'm talking about something that's a little bit more esoteric. Something takes place, a force, something, there's a push. That push is always going to get a response. It's just the way it is. Sometimes the only way to win is to not fight. In this case, they are making a big push. Donald Trump is going balls out. He's being so over the top. He's kicking the hornet's nest. He has been radicalizing progressives. He's woken up even some Democrats. These guys have been in a damn coma for the past 8 years. These guys are out there marching and freaking out and setting stuff on fire. Harness that. I know people are scared. I know people are concerned. I find this to be an amazing opportunity. Look, in the same way